I'm curious about this because I have my oldest daughter has a chronic pain condition, and she has for a couple of years. It's really hard to deal with and to watch her deal with that.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of resources. I have a lot of tools. I have a lot of practices. And she is allergic to everything I bring mostly because she doesn't want mom to bring it. Now, how does that happen with your kids? And how do you bring them into practices to help their mental health and healthy relationships and all of these things without them pushing you away?
So there's something different about, so first off, I just want to say that I feel you, Mama. My older son also has a chronic condition, and it is so hard to watch your kid be in pain. And it is so hard to not be able to fix it
Oh
and
my God.
to also know it's not going to end anytime
Ugh.
soon. I have recently taken to tracking. I used to keep a daily tracker when things were really flared. And we have started these spontaneous celebrations of it never goes fully away, but we like are claiming the wins when we get them. Like when things are mild, I'm like, okay, we're going to take this as a win. What do we want to do to celebrate? But that's a part of actually the heart of my work in writing was I feel like so many people who talk about thriving and flourishing. I'm going on a little bit of a segue here, but so many people who talk about thriving and flourishing, it feels like your life has to be good and easy. And then we're thriving. And for me, I feel like everything I do is life is hard. There are really challenging, hard, scary, painful things. And also, is it possible to thrive? And so the thing with Whole Child, Whole Life, the reason I wrote it was that I'd written this other book about the future and what kids need for adulthood. And as I went off, it was the pandemic. I did this like pandemic basement tour, and all of these people kept saying, that's super interesting, like what kids need for the future. And we are really scared that these kids are going to, or my kids are going to burn out or give up before they get there. What do they need to be well right now? And so when you talk about kids being allergic to the advice we give, yes, absolutely 100%. So my background is in social work and education. And so I deliberately wrote this book through an education publisher so that it could be a book that could be read and used by anybody who cares for kids. Because I think fundamentally where the spaces when my children have done best have been when the collection of adults who are collectively raising and caring for them are on the same page about what they need to be healthy, happy, and whole. And so in the case of my son, when he was first diagnosed with his chronic condition, he had his pediatrician, an infectious disease doctor, his teacher, a therapist, and his two parents and his grandmother as the closest adults. And then we have neighbors and folks from our faith community who are next circle out. And building those adult to adult relationships was imperative because these other adults were going to be investing in my kid and advising my kid when I was not present. And so I would say like the quick and easy recommendation here is it feels counterintuitive because you want to invest more deeply in your actual child is actually invest in the relationships with the other adults and other influential people who are part of that ecosystem of support that surround your child.
That makes sense. In fact, it makes me think of adults right away who could be there for my child.